Alrighty, so for the Frostgrave conversion to Warhammer, so Frostgrave Hammer, why not? The miniatures. So I figured since we are going to be doing this, what's really nice about it is it lets me play with making miniatures I normally wouldn't make for my Warhammer games. So now for our main wizard, here we go, and I'm going to do the creation of the main wizard in another video, but this is going to be an alchemy painting one, so, and I haven't even given her a name yet, so I just sort her out. So there's our main wizard, right there. Now, she needs an apprentice, because they are priests of Sigmar. We got this guy here with a hammer, and he's also got a grimoire on his back, which is better than having a monkey on your back. So those are the two main ones. Although I might use him as a Templar because there's a Templar in the group, and use this guy as the apprentice carrying a book. So in fact I'm probably going to use this guy as an apprentice. So yeah, command decision, these two. So I'm going to paint these two in this session, and I'm going to be doing the alchemy, so I'll be mixing colours I need. Now from the other alchemies that are already mixed, I've got a flesh, a blue, a red, and a yellow. So, you know, I've also got metallic. So a lot of this, you know, but I'll try and mix some different colours just so people that haven't seen those videos can see how the alchemy works. So I think let's get started with the flesh colour. So first thing I'm going to do is, if you remember, I make a very thin wash. It's my version of slap chop, kind of. And let me get some of this and put it on my palette. Actually, I can just take it straight from the bottle. And the point of this is to pre-shadow things. And if you mix it right, this is how it should come out. It's very runny into the crevices black. It doesn't stay on the whites as much. And you can push it around. So I'm going to go ahead and get this done. The reason I like this technique is because it doesn't go, sometimes I see slap chop go kind of grainy from the dry brushing or what have you not. And this kind of flows and keeps the shadows a lot more gradient, if that's the right word. And some of these shadows will be painted over. If you use a less translucent paint, you're going to lose what you're doing here. But if you really want something, you know, pre-shadowed, it also helps you see the details, which, you know, I always have problems seeing just straight on a white or a black foundation. So there she is. That's her done. Let's get a little apprentice guide done. Now you can see, so I'm going to leave these to dry, but you get that black and white photograph effect that slap chop gives you. It's just a little bit more smoothed out. It's not as choppy, I find. So I'm going to let those dry and then we'll crack on. Alrighty, so I'm going to be using my pre-mixed flesh that I already made for, who was it? This guy, which is in the video. If I remember, I'll put a thing up top. So let's start with my nun figure. None of this and none of that. Now, as I discovered last time, this is going to take 2 or 3 layers, but that's fine. That's why I usually paint 3 or 4 models at a time. It doesn't matter if you go over the lines at this point. And the hard part of this technique, I find, is getting an even layer. So especially when you're working with the more translucents, they want to pour just like the ink does, which then undoes the work of the ink. Because you're going to get more layers in the recesses, which is going to not let the ink show through. So, it doesn't matter about going over the lines when you're using thinned down paints like I'm doing here. And then let's come back to the nun and give her a second coat. Now for this final layer, especially on the nun, I've mixed in some white to bring it up. And then I'm just going to gently go over the surfaces. That's a bit too much white. Test it on your hands. And again, this is all going to get inked over later, so I'm not too worried about it. You want to just get it blocked in roughly to, so it's got different shades, so that when you do ink it over later, you know, there'll be subtleties there, hopefully. And again, don't worry about, you paint from the inside out, or at least I do. That's my mantra. So there we are, that's her flesh done. Let's move on to these poor buggers. Here's the other thing you can do with this, because I'm going to mix a bit more flesh in. That way you can kind of give them varying flesh tones somewhat. We'll see how much difference this makes, but it lets you adjust the flesh tones as you go forward. So there we have it. There's the fleshes on those. Okay, so now that's dried off a bit. Let's concentrate on the nun for now. So, Sigmar, colors of Sigmar, most models are white, blue, gold. So I'm going to do the Blue Nun, mostly. And then highlights of gold and maybe white. So, let's start off and block in using my pre-mixed blue that we used on the other video. I might put a thing up top. It's basically just medium mix and blue pigment on a paint. So I'm just going to block in, and then I think I'll do the inside. I'll keep white, but her outside stuff here is going to be blue. And she's got some edging on there, which I will do gold, I think. Oh, excuse me. Again, the trick is to get an even coat. These are not your normal painting paints. So you're going to want the pigment spread out as best you can. So you're going to concentrate on getting a nice even coating of paint. And you'll see that this is a lot more opaque than the skin was. So we are going to lose a lot of that black sugar when we did. But we won't lose all of it. And again, I don't like to do mine as cartoony as some of the heavy metal stuff from Games Workshop is, let's say. I like keeping mine somewhat pastel, somewhat grubby, because these adventurers are not walkway models, runway models. Another reason why I like doing the black undercoat, because it grubbies them up a bit. So this is where I gotta figure out what this front part's gonna look like. Again, I can always paint over it because it's a nice blocked in blue. I think that front thing is like armor. Yeah, here it looks like it's metal, that looks like metal. So, there we go, there's our first coat of blue on the things, I think. Well, should we do our arms blue as well? Yeah, let's do that. Will that be too much? No, we should do the arms white, so they match that. So, then that'll be metal. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry and then give it a second coat. You don't have to. I mean, well, do I have to give it a second coat? Depends how much shadows and highlights I want to paint later. No, well, that needs a touch up. I'm going to leave that as it is because I'm going to do shadows and highlights later. So that's the blue bit done. Now I'm going to carry on and do the other guys, and then I'll line them up when we're done, and we'll move on to the next stage. Okay, so here's my blue blocked in. A couple of screw-ups, but I'm about to fix those. So the next layer I want to do is like the under. So the under layer under the blue is white. I'm going to do white on these models. See, look, I painted his bloody leg. Anyway, so for white, I'm probably just going to really block it out with white and then shade it with a grey. And I always use this titanium white by Liquitex because it is really good. So put that on my pilot. So let's see if it will cover the blue. This white is pretty good if you want it to cover something. And I'm going to really block this in because I'm going to shadow it with a grey, I think, instead of having it translucent. So this is the tough part for me because I'm not a good painter, which is painting and not getting the bits I've already painted. Alrighty. So I'm going to go ahead and do these other guys, and we'll get back when we're done. Alrighty then. So, what are we doing next? So I want to do the armor kind of coppery gold. So I'm going to block it in. We made this again in, I think it was in the video with it's this guy. See coppery stuff on there. Again, I'll try and remember to put a card up for you. If not, it's in the sessions, session 1 through 5, on the playlist. So we're going to use this. Put some of this on my palette. And this is just a mix of black ink and Milo acrylic paint, which is a metallic. Metallics are hard, and as long as you don't want a shiny, shiny metallic, these do the job really well, I think. So let's get, I'm going to do her whole front breastplate for now. Like block it in. All the shadowing and stuff I do last. Dog barking. If I don't get the camera shot just right, sorry, I'm concentrating on. So there's that blocked in. I'm going to do the other guys and then we'll get back to it. Okay, so everything's blocked in. Well, not everything. I've done a couple of things off camera, like the belts and the boots, his beard, things like that. I usually come back for details like that later. What I want to do now is to start getting the shadows put in. And I'm going to start with the white. And for that, I'm going to use a grey shadow in. And I'm going to mix that with my black ink that we used at the beginning. And I am going to put in some grey. Sorry, I'm going to put in some of the white that we used to paint that. And I'm going to keep most of it the black ink because we want it to run like it did. We don't want to thicken it up with white ink. So basically, I'll show you on my thingy. It's basically the consistency. So it's the black ink, we'll put some white in it, and then let's let it go like that. So let's see how that works. Now, if you screw this up, you can always paint it white again. What I do is I will start in the depths here. At the top's where the shadow would be. And then that way. And again, if you feel like your white is getting toned down a bit too much, get yourself some clean water while it's still wet. And just clean it up a little. So there we go, by using clean water, we can bleed it in and shuffle stuff around. So now I'm going to go back and get some of my grey. It's very bordery, like I say, it's just like a wash. And clean the brush, get some water. Gee, I didn't get this all the way. You can also use the brush to wick it out. That way you can make it as subtle as you like. The arms, not too worried about. Again, the thing people look at is the face, usually. That's her shadowed white, and then I'm going to do it again on this guy, just because, I mean, this is where the models start coming together, I feel. So this part here is in shadow more than these. And again, this is because I like the more drab kind of stuff. It doesn't look as clean. So we're going to let those dry, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do the same with the blue and same with the bronze. Alright, so I did basically the same with the blue. Is you take the black wash, that we mixed, and take the blue that you use for that, and then just mix the two together, and the blue will go like a grey blue. You want to make sure that it's watery, so it runs. It doesn't cover everything like a paint would. So let's try it on the model. So get my fingers out of the way of the camera. So, and then again, I just get it in there and let it run. And start with the deep folds. Well, when there's a lot on your brush. On the deep folds, and you think the shadows may lie, especially towards the bottom of the model. Camera shots are sometimes crap. And then the top part, we're going to be a little more careful because there's a lot of light hitting the top, so try and get it just in the creases. Now remember, we're also going to be doing highlights, so out of the light. There'll be a crease in here, here. This is going to be darker creases, let those run in. And again, we are going to highlight, so if you screw up, it's not so bad. We can fix it. all of this is fixable. So I'm going to move on and do the other chapters. So there we go. Shadows, and then we can come back and do the highlights later on, but we're going to finish the shadows first. I'm going to let that dry and I'll be... Alrighty, so the next one I'm going to do is the armor, and that is a nice easy black wash to try and make it pop and get in the shadows. One thing you got to watch out for is don't put on too much of it that it runs into the other colors, or because it will run down and then all of a sudden you got it in the white and everything. So we'll start here and just see, there it's starting to run. Where you want it to run is in here and do like an automatic black lining up in here. Just don't put tons of it on there because it will start running all over your model and then you'll have a ton of stuff to go fix. Don't be scared to push it around. Also, don't be scared of, I just said don't put too much, don't put too much on at once, but don't worry about it because the metallic we're really going to highlight and the black will make the highlight stand out. And if there's a place that's going to have a lot of shadow, you can always just get in there to give it some black to deepen those shadows. I'm going to try and do very carefully. Just get the outside of her face. Put the wimple. Get a wimple. There we go. And then let it run. Because again, the face is a point where you look. And then maybe here, if I screw it up, I know I go back and redo it, but and this is number 101, let the model paint itself. Black is just going into the details, black lining. So this here, use that to get most of it off of my brush because we want lots of black or mist to make it pop. And then put a little bit more on here. And again, this is something you can layer, so don't try and do it all at once and screw your model up. So if you can see up here, for example, you can go like these white spots, just go in there and black them out. Got a bag there that I got paint later. I always come back for stuff like that because I don't know, I'm used to going for the big stuff first. Again, once you get this black wash to the right consistency, it's like magic. You learn how to just, dot it on. Well, again, not too much, otherwise it will run all over your model. There you go. So back here there would be more shadow, so I'm going to let it black line. Now you see how when it does run, it's running down here in this fold. I'm just going to fix it, I'm just going to dot it. And also these deep folds, probably not a bad idea just to run a line, just to make them deeper. Because again, we are going to highlight. So that's her armor. Now, once I've done her armor, again, I'm going to go in and hit places that should have deeper shadow, just to deepen them. Like in here, because it's a reverse side, and in here. And then I'm also going to do around the top here, because she got a big belly and there's going to be overhang, just like mine. So you see now the black goes into the grey, which hopefully goes then into the white. And there she is. So I'm going to get the rest of the guys done. Alrighty, so there's those black lined and has the black on all their armor done. So, really what I should do next is paint like the books and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do, but it'll be exactly the same as what we've been doing is, you know, pick a color, block it, ink it, and once that's done, I will get back to you. Alright, so now we're going to start with the highlighting. I'm going to start with the armor, the coppery stuff. And sadly, I haven't found a good way of doing metallics. However, I'm using Army Painter gold and plate mail mixed together, which will look like this. Now, by painting the bulk from the other acrylics that look okay, but they don't do bright very well. So make sure you have a good metallic, but you only have to use them for highlighting. And then the way I usually do that is just draw it from top to bottom because that's the light source. And you know what, I'm just going to paint this part in as part of the armor. The reason I start from this is, again, painting from the inside out, basically. You'll see that it starts to brighten up the model. Again, pastels I like, but you don't want it dreary. You want... And you can dry brush this too, should you prefer. I mean, that's basically what I'm doing, but in a different way. And then I always like where the light's hitting it. So from the top down. And you don't have to all of it, just where the light would kind of penetrate. Or any areas you want to highlight. Usually around the face is good. And you can see how it all kind of comes together, all the steps we've taken, work on top of each other to let her get on and do the rest. Alright, so let me let that dry and we'll come back to the rest. Alrighty, so the next one I'm going to do is the blue. For that I've taken the original blue we used and I put in barely a small drop of white. Let's see. So it's just a little bit lighter than the original blue. And then again, get most of it off the brush. And then I'm just going to kind of like edge highlighting all the bits where I think the light would hit and lighten it up. Just draw it from top to bottom down. And then I got some gold on her face. She looks like she's wearing a mask, but we'll clean that up. So basically you're doing the reverse of what you do with the shadows, where the shadows you paint, you're painting around the tops and the folds. This one you're painting where the light's going to hit and the highlighty bits, especially along the top here. Now this technique you can go crazy with. You can go 10 layers, 20 layers of all different lights and darks and wet. Do them wet so that they meld into each other better, but I'm so used to painting armies of hundreds. This is my compromise. And I, table ready, that's all. I'm not going to win any prizes with this. Not looking to win any prizes with it. I want to make the Blue Nun look good. So I'm going to edge highlight all the way along this. Oh, she definitely got a golden face when I dry them. See? but there's nothing you cannot fix. So let's do these guys. So let those dry and come back to them. Alright, I'm going to fix her face quick because she's got gold on it and it's driving me crazy. So basically the same as the highlighting step that I did. I took the original flesh we used. And again, you can dry brush this, but I'm going to try. Alrighty, I'll be back when that's dry. Alrighty, for the white highlights, take the original white and then water it down so it's like creamy and somewhat translucent. Something like that should do it. Let's try it. And then again, you're just hitting. Don't have a lot on your brush because it'll spread out everywhere. Doing it to lighten stuff up. There again. Just trying to make it look interesting. And because it's somewhat translucent, build it up. And these guys. That. And I'll come back and after I've taken a look at them, see what else we need to do. Okay, I've decided I'm going to do a second level highlight on blue, which I've started to do here. And basically that is white that's even more watered down than when we did the white highlight to make it very transparent. But what you do is wherever there's going to be, if you can imagine like a glint or something, or where light would flash off of an edge. So, for example, here, and building up another level of highlight. So, let's try it on Lady Nun here. So, if you get too much on it, like I just did, run your finger on it, you know, we want to think edge highlighting really adds, makes it more interesting. Anywhere where the light would really hit. And less is more, you don't want to do tons of it. Dab it with your finger if you think it's too harsh. Just keep bringing it up till you're happy with it. Alright, so I'm going to call these at least table ready for now. Now the nice thing is, again, and hopefully I've said this in all my videos, is some nights when I'm sitting there, I'll go back to a model, pick it out, and start playing with it, and just, you know, add in a highlight here, fill in a different color there, whatever, just to improve it. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to base these, I'll come back and I'll give you a final shot.